Greetings, dear witches, and thank you for tuning in to the Modern Witches podcast, brought to you by the witches behind the Modern Witches Confluence and our Witches Gather event series. I am your host and Modern Witches creatrix, Casey Zabala, and I am here to offer this space to commune with the many multifaceted currents of witchcraft at work in our world. Together, may we collectively re-enchant our realities, both here and between the worlds.
Hi everyone, hello, I'm Kirima Lynch and I'm with Mariana. Hi Mariana.
Hi Karima, hi everyone.
I hope you're all doing well and you had a great Capricorn season. We're still moving through it as we are recording, but unfortunately, Casey Isabella was not able to join us for this the Aquarius season recording session. So we send her a lot of love, and it's
Yeah,
gonna be only me and Mariana today.
yeah.
So Mariana, let's talk. Let's
Let's
talk
start.
about what's happening.
What's happening? So, guys, we're recording this on a full moon in Cancer, so kind of the water is up to the brim with everything, and
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
are going to be talking about Aquarius season, which is quite eventful, and I am looking forward to this season particularly because um, here, like, I do feel that a lot of kind of purification because Pluto is in Aquarius and all the planets going into Aquarius will be meeting Pluto.
Hmm.
I have this yearning and a real sense that there's so much stuff has been accumulated in the past 3-4 months with like Mars retrograde and like a lot of like Mercury has been retrograde in December, but like a lot of stuff stagnant, staying within our both systems and the collective environment. And I feel like this planet's passing Pluto, being purified by Pluto, as difficult as it can be sometimes, it that adds clarity to our lives. It
Hmm.
adds sort of like this brutal honesty. It's like, oh, this is an honest look at where we are. So we know what's gunk, we know what needs to go. Let's honestly look at ourselves, at the systems at place, because for me, Aquarius is all about systems. It's very systematic. It's about this web of relationships and web of connections. It's electricity. It's very systematic season. So how can we systemize our lives from a higher vantage point for this month by getting rid of what has been kind of dead, stagnant out of our lives.
Yeah, and it's right that like you mentioned, it was like with the Mercury retrograde, when Mars retrograde, we had this Mars Pluto opposition that
Mm-hmm.
we hit the second time. We're gonna hit it a third time later, around April, but it is felt congested. And this month, I agree with you. I feel like there's a huge flow happening. So
Mm-hmm.
first of all, yes, Aquarius is a very important sign right now because we have definitely Pluto move definitely in that sign for the next
Mm-hmm.
20 years, last couple of months. So we have this kind of new energy, even if we felt it a little bit before when it came in and went back retrograde in Capricorn, we still have like it's very putting roots. And so this first flow of Sun coming, passing, conjuncting Pluto, we're gonna have Mercury conjuncting Pluto. We have this new moon happening, which is the new lunar Chinese year also happening.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very big move that Pluto, we have Pluto that is very a generational planet where we're going to see it collectively, but also personally, depending on your
Mm-hmm.
chart. But it's also very much like Marina mentioned the web of different things being related around also power. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
see where our power lies personally, where we want to take power over, where we want to work, that part of our chart Aquarius is going to be going through a major shift in the next 20 years. So there is some highlight and some sign when we have planet like the sun or Mercury or different conjunction or sextile that happen with Pluto, that kind of like we have little sign that is putting in our way to guide us.
Mhm.
Also, we have this season Jupiter and Uranus going direct again, which are like major shift collectively. Those are
Mhm.
social and generational planets. They're going to be felt also among us when we feel that things are moving, and we're going to see where we were imposed for the past couple of months. Everything is actually becoming real right now. And like I said, we can feel a big boost of energy with those planets going back direct, or a pulling focus on the area that is touching our life in our personal chart. But we're also going to see collectively something moving forward and things moving. And like it's going to feel like Aquarius season is gonna feel like we're back from Christmas holidays, even if it's
Mhm.
been over, but it actually is really started the Aquarius season.
Mhm.
That things are moving. And so it's I think it's like you mentioned, this season is gonna be important collectively when we're gonna see things being put in place and where we stand from that place, but also personally where we want to move forward, where our
Mhm.
faith is, where we want to be. Feel like Uranus is also about revolution and being different and being electric. So also
Mhm.
depending on your chart, always look where Uranus is right now in your chart, in what houses. That allows
Mhm.
you to see where you need to be more like revolutionary. It can be in your money sector, being more risky, or in being your communication, being more bold. That depends where, but I think those shifts are very important during that season.
Mhm. 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're still doing that Mars retrograde in a
Yeah.
water sign, and I cannot stop. We're recording right now during the full moon in Cancer. Cancer representing, of course, the mother, the children, the home, the lifestyle, the foundation. And we wanted just to send Mariana and I a big hug and love to all our friends in down LA that are living right now. Our
Yeah.
fire that is happening.
It's horrendous.
It's awful, and we, as many of you know, there's a lot in LA. There's a big community of spiritual witches out there, and
Mhm.
I just know how hard it is, and I just want to send them all my love, and everybody, of course, who's living through that disaster fire right now. It's just very hard to watch, and is like there's so many things happening online for donation and helping and do what you can, you know, but
Yeah.
it's important to help. Like us from San Francisco, we're like 6 hours apart, and it's just feels like it's happening here because it's so close, you know, and it's just like I feel awful because we had so many fires for the past 5 years. That's been wild in Santa Cruz, and like you know, we have also in up north next to Napa. That was just like very crazy, and you lost your home and you lost everything that you know in your home, your memories, no matter where you're from, no matter in what class, social class you're from, because
Mhm.
there's this whole battle also on social media that we can see with rich people basically complaining and the verses of what you know people live in war. That's a conversation that we can talk about, Mariana and I saw it a lot, but also like I understand those point of view. But it's also like losing your home, losing your memories, losing everything you live is like a common feeling. You still have to grieve through it. And after, like, I know that people who have more maybe income and money and abundance in the life, they can rebuild faster, and that is the real fact. You know, that's a reality. When people who put their own investment in their money, their whole life into building their home, lost everything, and especially with what we're learning with insurance and all that. I think there's a lot of to talk about around that disasters fire, and there's a lot of debate around money and social media and what's happening in the world compared to what's happening in life, but it's just like let's put focus on helping people that we need to help, our neighbors that really need our help right now.
Well said. I think I don't analyze the fires too much astrologically because people are going through it. And I think in any situation where a lot of the people, most people, I would assume there are people who are gonna have hard time rebuilding versus those who will have it like just like walk in the park. Majority of people are going through the real struggle there. But overall, in those situations, once the grieving is done and all is done, we always look at the systems that uphold certain things. We always need to look at how can, in the future, we can be better supported by the systems that we have a power to put in place. That's the thing. So understanding your leverage for the future that we're building. I don't think we all recognize that we do have that, like that power. And also with the North Node, as we speak, just a few days ago, the North Node left Aries and entered Pisces, which is for me, and I have this in the nodal nodal placement natally. For me, it is about learning to embrace it all like one, you know, and really exercise. And because Saturn has been also in Pisces for a while now, the lessons are about opening the heart, not everything the circumstances will point us towards closing the heart, despairing and all of that. But the task, the hard work, Saturn in Pisces, North Node in Pisces, is about working very, very hard to keep the heart open and being compassionate and understanding together it's easier to get through whatever is happening than separate.
And when I think about North Node in Pisces, I talk also about a lot about healing, you know, the work that we have to constantly do with everything that is happening in our life daily, you know.
100%. So, can you see the screen on?
Yes.
So this is the ingression of the Sun into Aquarius on January 19th. Should we start talking about that?
I would love to.
Yeah, so here I put it on San Francisco time. So sometime in the first half of the day of January 19th, Sun enters Aquarius. We have Moon in Libra, which kind of points us to the mood of the people. The mood is trying to find balance. The mood is trying to find some kind of center of gravity we can hold on to so we don't feel being taken from one extreme to another. Finding some values, if you like, in our daily life, connection, Moon in Libra, finding connection, finding proper right points of connection. And like we already mentioned, the Sun entering Aquarius right away next day, it's going to be conjunct Pluto, but more on that later. This is the Saturn ruled season. Saturn rules in a traditional astrology. You can talk, I don't know if like also about like modern astrology, but in traditional astrology, Saturn rules Aquarius. So Saturn is in Pisces with Venus at the time of the ingression. So here we're trying to really like crystallize and clarify our value systems. What is eternal? What is infinite? What is not perishable by the fire? This is a big questions. What can give us hope to move forward and to make long-term plans in Aquarius fashion? What needs to be put in the center of our kind of core of our lives? Saturn with Venus in Pisces. What is internal, eternal, for us to keep creating a better future?
I like when you mentioned Saturn conjuncting is almost exact conjunction, but I think degrees. That how do you say it? Clarifying our value And I think that is very important right now, especially with Jupiter in Gemini. We have it's still retrograding right now. It's gonna go
Mhm.
back, goes direct in I think it goes after, let me see, it's gonna be on January 4th.
Mhm.
January 4th. And February 4th, sorry, February 4th.
Mhm.
So Jupiter in Gemini can make us feel a little bit scattered. We want to know so many things. We want to learn so many things. We're attracted by different fields, different or different people or different things. But the Saturn and Venus conjunct remind us in Pisces to very clarify what is us, very struggle, because Pisces can feel like when you have Saturn in Pisces, that like I always compare it to water can be very spread really easily everywhere. Saturn helped to have a container. It's a glass. And so we
Mhm.
help the water to be contained in a glass, and see with Venus kind of have this loop or this flashlight in the water and see what do we really like, what do we really love, and where we want to spend more quality times with the people we love, with the people that
Mhm.
we cherish, and not anymore spending. I'm talking about people, but it can be with many different things. It can be with
Mhm.
what you're learning every day, what you're reading every day, what you're consuming every day. And
Mhm.
it's just Venus is helping us to refocus our love, what our heart desire is, and try to block what everyone is telling us to do around us, and kind of focus your energy in like, okay, I need to clarify, where do I spend my time? And Saturn is about time. It's about time. And it's really about telling you your time is precious, where Venus is coming and sprinkling some stars around it and said, let's put time where you love to spend time with.
Mhm.
And with Aquarius, with the sun coming in Aquarius, is very pushing us also to do service work, is true, like something for the
Yeah.
community, but not only, is also depending again in where in your charts it falls. But it's about like if you're attracted by services or service to other people, or doing something that bring joy. It can be just a pleasure that, or in community, doing a class or workshop that you always enjoy, or starting something that you always enjoy with a group. That's a very tone, like with Aquarius in the sun, with the sun
Mhm.
in Aquarius. However, it can be by yourself. With Pisces vibe, you can be definitely something that you are doing by yourself. But I just
Mhm.
want to say, I just love that. I know it can be tough. I know Saturn is a tough love planet, but Venus coming in is just helping us to restructure around what we
Mhm.
truly desire and prioritize. And we have Neptune in it. We have the North Node. There's very an intuitive part of it that is
Mhm.
like, I don't know why I'm attracted, but I'm being called to do that. I'm being called.
Mhm.
It's really the word. I'm being called, because Neptune will not make any sense of it. North Node
Mhm.
either. They're very nebulous. They're very like, oh,
Mhm.
let's go there. I don't know why. I don't know where. But like,
Yeah, I do also, like you said, I like that Saturn is there. I
yeah,
like the Saturn there because I feel like without Saturn there, it could really go into delusion. Delusion, illusion, not seeing
yeah.
things for what they are at all. But Saturn there is almost like,
Mhm.
because Saturn often acts like a doubtful planet. It's like creates doubt and fear. But I think
Yeah,
here it's good to be like, let's try to ground this feeling. Let's
yeah.
try to like think deeper about it. Let's feel into this more. It does that kind of cautious thing a little bit.
It make it tangible, because sometimes we receive messages of stuff that we just like don't know what to do with it. Like, oh, I love doing that. I always wanted to do this, or and it's
Mm-hmm.
just staying there in our mind and kind of not really taking shape or form. And like you say,
Mm-hmm.
Saturn is really here to like
Mm-hmm.
do it, do it,
Mm.
like and
Understand.
I really do like this entrance, and like you mentioned, the moon in Libra. And I
Mm-hmm.
love seeing that we're starting kind of over with the Libras, because we just
Yeah.
slept. the south nodes just left. So the moon is in Libra. We have black moon lilies in it, yes. But the moon is in Libra for the first time in the past 18 months without the nodes in it. So the moon can take full power a little bit in that section of your chart in Libras. And like we
Mm-hmm.
said, it's about harmony, it's about balance, it's about founding.
Yeah. I always, whenever I look at the moon and like at the beginning of the season, I'm like, as long as it's not void of course. Because
Mm-hmm.
this moon, because when in the beginning of the season, moon is void of course, I'm like, oh no, we're gonna be
Yeah.
directionless.
Mm-hmm.
But this moon is like making aspects like square to Mercury. I will take any aspect, trine to Jupiter, square to Mercury. I'll take any aspects other than a void of course moon, void of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and sun and moon in harmonious aspects to each other. So all of that is kind of a good news. Like we already talked about Mars being so retrograde. I'm like, okay, it's not a full speed ahead.
Yeah, it's a very gentle start.
Yeah.
And still, Mars is in a water sign like Saturn and Venus and Neptune and North Node. The water,
Mhm.
we are in the air season with Aquarius season. However, the water is definitely there.
Very, very, very
Until like
strong.
it's pushing you, but there's also like the emotion or like that's where you need to be guided to. Like the air is the expression of it, the roots
So
of the water,
interesting.
the emotion.
No fire,
No fire. There's no
no
fire.
inner planets, no. After this, like really destructive North Node in Aries, we are like really this beginning of Aquarius season is a lot of water. It's a lot of air.
Mm-hmm.
Enough. Oh no, yeah, there's a lot of water, Mars in Cancer. Air, some Earth with Mercury, but not a whole lot of, not at all any fire in the chart of the beginning of the Aquarius season. So
Yeah.
we will need what does it tell us? We'll need to find that sort of impulse, this excitement within ourselves. It's not going to be coming from outside. We'll need to
Yeah.
find that spark and like energy of life and this drive within
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. It will have to produce it ourselves. It's not going
Yeah.
to be externally coming to us. So we might feel a little bit more in our heads, in our emotions,
Yeah.
planning, but doing might be a little hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And so interesting enough, then next couple of days on January, so January 19, we have the sun entering Aquarius. Then on
Mm-hmm.
January 21st, we have the sun conjunct Aquarius at 1 degree,
Mm-hmm.
which is like the beginning of the sign. And he has been, it's kind of like I said, it's kind of a big deal because we having this first round of Pluto being in Aquarius and conjuncting for the first time the sun. And like I said, Pluto is going to be there for 20 years, so you're going to have often every year this conjunction in the sign of Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
this story that's beginning here, there's definitely a
Mm-hmm.
story that is beginning here in the Aquarius part of your chart related to humanitarian, related to the collective, related to idea that are maybe out of the box, related to the intellect and how like the thinking part of your brain that wants to go
Mm-hmm.
and maybe going above and beyond conspiracy theory. I feel like Aquarius side
Mm-hmm.
is definitely for me the conspiracy theorist.
But
But
and
but
it's so
it's like
funny. They do a lot of them somehow do come to fruition.
exactly. So I feel like this is for me. It's Einstein was Aquarius, you know. So for me, it's like this thinker that is like in advance from everyone
Mm-hmm.
else. People call him crazy, and then they call him geniuses. You know, that's kind of like I'm breaking the rules, or I'm breaking the social norm to advance in science, to advance in ideology, to advance in how we live. Even if it seems weird, then it will become the norm. That kind of energy for me, Aquarius, and for a lot
Mm-hmm.
of astrologers, for me,
Yeah.
astrology in general. Um, but like having this conjunction is, it's a purification for sure. We have kind of a
Mhm.
purification of Pluto, and the sun bursting is a Casimir here. So it's a very, I feel it's very intense for our ego. It's very intense of how we define ourselves as
Mhm.
human. It's a time where we're like, I do think magic around that time can be very powerful, especially if even is like just a purge, that like getting rid of something, or a thought that you have in your mind that kind of haunts you. This is a great way when you use Pluto, because it's represent the god of the underworld. It's a great way to flash out some, through meditation, through deep thinking, or through journaling, like to flash out things that you want to flash out, like that have been stuck in your body, a thought, or thing that you have a hard time to let go. I do
Mhm.
think that day would be a great ritual for that. But
It's
that's
interesting, and I have to mention this. I
what.
think the inauguration is on January 20th as the sun is approaching Pluto. So this is going to be a very interesting day to observe what's happening. I'm not making any predictions. I'm just saying that this is Sun is the leader, Pluto is a transformation and purification of sorts of the said leader.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. We'll see what's happening in the collective, Aquarius collective, how that purification affects the collective, what happens after. It's one of many Sun-Pluto conjunctions, as we said, in
Mm-hmm.
Aquarius for years to come. It's not like it's one in a lifetime. Every year we're going to have this one. But this is the beginning of some kind of transformational process of the king, son, or
Mm-hmm.
leader
Mm-hmm.
that we're beginning here. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
see.
We'll see. And I just can stop thinking about. We talked a lot about Pluto in Aquarius when he started to enter Aquarius. For a couple of
Mm-hmm.
months, we went back to Capricorn, but mentioning again that back when the time where Pluto was in Aquarius was a time of revolution in our history. It was the American Revolution, that was the French
Mm-hmm.
Revolution, and I cannot stop thinking that I'm not saying it's gonna be the same. It might be very different for very different country, but we're coming to a time where, because it's Aquarius that oppose Leo. Leo represent kings, it represent leaders, Aquarius represent people. There is a disruption among people. There's definitely a breakdown with Pluto and the Sun around that, when the president is going to take place. That's, I feel, for me, is the beginning of a discord among the group, with which is group and community, which Aquarius represent. And this is what we've been going through, the scattering, like having different group of people, different niche with different thought.
Mm-hmm.
We just feel like a little bit scattered from each other. Is a miss of unity. And I just feel like that that's first conjunctions of the next, and then the next 20 years
Yeah.
we have it once every year. It's the beginning of a story from that,
Mm-hmm.
what is going on in our society as people, as a group. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real transformation of our collective ideals, the collective
Hmm.
pursuits of how we are with each other
Yeah.
in a huge capacity. How are we?
Yeah.
And it's like we'll have to figure out in the course of the next 20 years.
Yeah. Aquarius is related, it's rule social media, and I can stop thinking about it and how it's going to be handled, and especially with the
AI.
AI and the new announcement of what Facebook's going to do around fake news and around living thought three, that is not going to be regulated anymore, that you're for or
Mm-hmm.
against. This is a huge difference now that Meta is leading the way on, and how it's going to be for other social media, or how they're going to handle that. It's a very question of like, in the what is true, what is not true on our social media, what we can trust, what we cannot trust. So I just feel very intense that Pluto started to enter into that sign, and then we have this whole revolution around truth and information, and that we basically reviewing all of that and changing the rules around that. Um, very interesting for me in that time.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see. We'll see. We ought to observe the transits. We ought to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am like everything, if a little bit from me personally, everything has been feeling so difficult for me personally in the last few months. And for those who are listening, I haven't been, if you read or something, I haven't been writing. The sense that I get from the first quarter of the 2025 is that we need to go inward with Saturn finishing up its journey. It's going to come back there, but in Pisces. So we really need to figure out what we are called to do, each of us individually. This is the first quarter of the year, especially with Aquarius season, it's active, but it's active in a very internal ways. Active in a very, very, it's not about like going and doing something right away, but it's about clarifying for ourselves in the privacy of our minds and hearts what it is we're meant to do, what it is like without argument internal, without anything, what is calling, and just follow the call. That's what it feels like to me. The difficulty is we first start resisting and trying to analyze and think too much about it. Yeah. Well, yeah. All right.
See, because after that, on January 27, we have Mercury entering Aquarius, joining the team, joining the Sun, joining Pluto. And then on the next day, we have, on January 28th, we have Mercury conjunct Pluto in Aquarius at 1 degree again. So we had the Sun, and now we have Mercury. So we have a lot of things happening all in a very short period of time. So like I said, Mercury entering Aquarius on January 27, and then it's so close on the next day that this entrance is very influenced by Pluto. Is giving a lot of energy to Mercury, basically, and how to move in the sign of Aquarius from the beginning. Mercury doesn't have time to feel cozy or good in Aquarius. He's just like, okay, I'm meeting with the boss right away.
Yeah, one boss and then another boss.
Check. And then another boss, the Sun.
He's going through the high echelon of.
Yeah, because Mercury during that Aquarius season is gonna, of course, meet with Pluto and then the Sun. But right now, meeting with Pluto in Aquarius is like, again, I feel like I don't know. I don't want to talk about the news coming around that day, around that what might like be the big headline. But I don't think it's a bad thing to have Mercury conjunct Pluto. It can be intense sometimes, but I do think our mind sometimes need that purge. And sometimes I need that cleanness or that void for a little bit.
Mercury needs Pluto. Mercury needs Pluto in order, because like if you think about it, what's the role of Mercury? Mercury just passes information. It's not like Mercury really has its own thing. It's the job of Mercury is to go from archetype to archetype and get the message of the spirit to the heart, to the desire, to whatever, everything, like, and have this communication running smoothly. So like here I have it on January 28th. We have Mercury conjunct Pluto. We also have Moon already in Aquarius, and we are just a day before the new moon in Aquarius. So Mercury here is very close to the Sun. So when Mercury is this close to the Sun, for me, it's burned by the Sun. It's like 8 degrees. I still consider that to be burned. Like it's in the rays and it's approaching the Sun. So Mercury is being purified by Pluto, which is close enough to the Sun where it's also in the rays of the Sun. So here, Mercury, it's sort of like, can you drop the ego? Can you drop the mind games? Can you see the truth? Can you be honest with yourself and your place in the world? Can you be honest with your community about where you stand? Things like that feels to be very prominent here. Yeah. I do like also Mercury conjunct Pluto. I like anything conjunct Pluto at this point. I'm like, we need to get on
We're Pluto's girls, yeah.
we are Pluto girls. We need to get on accelerated, quick kind of like, let's get the freaking toxins out of our collective. That's what Pluto does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely a reframing of how we communicate here. Mhm. But I do think Aquarius is great for community work, group work. Um, I love Mercury and Aquarius for that. There's
Yeah.
a good feeling of how to work as a team
Yeah.
and how also to communicate for those who are like when you have the Sun or Mercury like we have right now going through Aquarius. This is a great time to communicate to your group, to your clients, to deliver some messages. With Pluto there, there's a very something that is like very therapeutic. So if you have a small business, if you have anything that, or a small group where you communicate with them, this is a great time to use that energy to really pour out what is in your heart in a very, maybe sometimes Pluto can be harsh, but Mercury in the Sun can bring a lot of clarity and highlights around subject that can be difficult to communicate. Or sometimes it's just a time where you want to communicate that much to your group or your client or your community or put something out there to the group. It's a very good time for that. I like Aquarius time for that for sure.
100%. And one thing I want to mention, I don't think we'll put it on the list, but the January 28th, Venus in Pisces starts its shadow. So if you're ruled by Venus, Venus is going to be at 25 degrees of Pisces on January 28th. This is the shadow. So events in relation to the Venus houses Venus ruled houses in your chart, so Libra, Taurus houses in your chart will start. Something might be, if you're in your perfection Venus year, if you're ruled by Venus, whatever. And for everyone else, events related to money, love, relationships, connections, agreements, contracts. For me, not only Mercury's contracts, Venus is also contracts. So they can be something can start happening that is going to have a long story to it. So yeah. But on the next day, on January 29th, we have a new moon in Aquarius here in the early morning Pacific time.
Yeah, I like this new moon because it's trining Jupiter. And we love having Jupiter in the mix, even if it's retrograde.
Yeah.
That just give us our brain because Aquarius is an air sign, Gemini is an air sign. That's definitely like a signature for activism and connecting with group and making things in plan in order, like targeting that you have definitely Aquarius the group and Jupiter and Gemini the connection.
Yeah.
That give that vibe for sure. But outside of this, it's a great time to just talk about project, talk about your idea, expand of what you want to do. The vision board, I like that one. The vision board for that one. It's just your intellect can run wild on what can be abundance. Jupiter wants to be abundant. And because it's related to faith and wise and being wise, it can also bring you a lot of knowledge and a lot of way to express whatever you want to express in the world. So I just like it for relationship, for project, for just expand your mind to different possibility for you and being abundance. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it's also good for writing. Like vision board is one thing. Also like writing your desires specifically, like really good here, speaking out loud. Like Jupiter and Gemini speaking is another one. Like whatever your means of communicating, the most like someone it might be drawing a painting of your desires or something. Like, but working with hands. I like this aspect very much. This is again Saturn ruled lunation. Saturn is direct. I like it. Saturn is in Pisces. Saturn is not really making the ruler of this lunation, many prominent aspects. but it tells us that we need to trust for me, Saturn in Pisces, trust what you feel is right and wrong for you to do or not to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah.
trust yourself in this new beginning. You know better. You know better what's good for you and what's not.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I love what you just said, because when I think about, we never mentioned it, but Saturn in Pisces is to trust your gut,
Mm-hmm.
to learn how to listen to your body and trust what it's telling you, and your
Mm-hmm.
gut and your voice. That you can, Saturn in Pisces definitely put, like, again, form into what your intuition or your gut is saying, or
Yeah.
what your body is telling you, you know? So is, yeah, I
Mhm.
do like what you just said, Maria.
Mhm.
There's, yeah. And it's so, this spirit of time for me started on January 9th, because there's so many things happening after that for the next couple of days that are very beautiful,
Mhm.
trine and conjunction. So after this new moon, why the next 4 days, 3 days is going to be kind of important, because we
Mhm.
have the sun, the next day we have the sun making a trine to Jupiter. Again, Jupiter being
Mhm.
involved in that lunation very closely.
Mhm.
And now the sun is definitely making an exact trine to Jupiter, which is very nice at 11 degree. And then on the same day, we have Uranus going direct. So we're being pulled focus on that. And
Mhm.
we want Uranus to go direct, because Uranus represents our rebellious side. It represents our boldness. It represents where we want to, we're revolutionizing our life, and in giving us also the not the energy, but the, I don't want to say a bad word in this podcast, but basically the balls to do
The
what
bomb.
we want to do.
Karima, such a bad word. How
Said it.
dare
I
you
said a
are.
bad word. Yeah. And it's very interesting, because around that time, then we have on February 1st, we're going to talk about it more, obviously, but
Mhm.
then the next day we have Venus conjunct Neptune in Pisces, with the moon and Venus conjunct the North Node. We have so much beautiful water energy of love and connectedness, and again, intuition is very high in that thing, in that conjunction, sorry. But Thursday, February 1st, is Imbolc. It's a neo-pagan holidays, and it's very bringing a spiritual energy to that new moon that is on the 29th, and to the rest of the day that lead up to
Mhm.
Imbolc. Holiday, I said the holiday, but it's not a holiday. You know, we don't really celebrate it in our government or nationally. You
Yeah.
know, it's but it's I just like that this time in bulk is surrounded by very good kind of energy around love with Venus, around intuition with Neptune, and where we want to lead. The North Node is where we want to go. And I just like that we have this whole energy being built up at the end of the month of January, beginning of February.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so much from that. Like, well, first of all, Uranus going direct. Couple things about that. On January, what is it, 30th? Yes, on January 30th, Uranus goes direct. I've noticed that whatever, especially the outer planet, when it goes direct last time before it enters the next sign, so it has been, what, 7 years in Taurus? It's going to enter sometime in June or something like that. Can't remember. But
Mm-hmm.
in a few months, it's going to enter Gemini. So this period before it enters the next sign, Uranus makes the most impactful job in the sign that it has been. So in Taurus. So a lot of the what has been a lot will be gathered. A lot will be more clear in regards to Taurus energy. This is one thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm very curious about what surprises Uranus will be doing
Mm-hmm.
in Taurus. And then on February 1st, Venus with Neptune and Venus with North Node. Boy, this is like a dreamy thing.
This is dreamy.
This is very, so because North Node kind of expands everything it touches. Neptune kind of spills over everything, and Pisces in itself is boundless. It has
Boundless.
boundless. And Venus here moving, already slowing down, already moving slower, slightly slowing down. So gaining, becoming more intense in its exaltation. So this is a dreamland. This is where this is a place where dreams are made from. This is a place where the highest aspirations are born. The danger is not to fall into self-deception. The danger, seeing the work. Saturn is still in Pisces and Moon is in Pisces as those conjunctions are happening. Seeing clearly the amount of work this dream will take. Being realistic about the efforts this dream is going to take. This is what this aspect is about to me. Yeah.
And I just feel it's so interesting that it's happening on Inbog, which is like, again, a pagan holiday. That it's just because Inbog is based on the Celtic tradition. It marks the halfway, the point between winter solstice and the spring equinox, and it was really much celebrated in Ireland, in Scotland. And it was taken over by the Christian, and they will rewrite the whole story of who the goddess Bridget, what they call it the Saint Bridget. It's a whole story that started for them in the 6th century. So it's very different than the story, very different with the pagans' stories. But they took this over, and now they're celebrating part of the Christian religion and highlight some aspect of winter and sunlight to celebrating the changing season. But with Bridget, it's basically the message is like the rebirth. She's the fertility goddess. She's here to evoke fertility blessing, and she oversees, which is very interesting with the astrology that is happening at the same time. She's oversee like poetry, craft, prophecy, arts, and it's like prophecy, arts, craft. Like you can definitely relate it to Neptune, to the nodes, to the moon, and to the sign of Pisces. And there is something that is starting. Bridget, this Bridget goddess, the holiday was definitely to predict the birth of something. There's many different ritual and community gathering around fire because she representing the first fire, the first burst of energy to create. And so this is something here that is very interesting because there is a deep dive into the emotion, imaginative world, loving world, like to space out, on February 1st, literally to space out and do nothing except like dreamy, like dancing, trying to feel it's through feelings, everything is through feelings. And then you have this basically pagan holiday that this should definitely signify birth. So we have a very nice correlation here of what's happening in the skies and what the tradition are in our world.
Yeah, it's insane. As you speak, I'm looking at this. Look at this on the screen. This whole Pisces thing.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Insanity. What would you? I have a question. What would you say the rituals to which element traditionally connected to Bridget? What would you doing something or?
Oh yeah, I know, like when I study it a little bit, like it was back in the day they were doing a little effigy, like like a little Bridget goddess with old branches and leaves, and they were putting them in the basket with the dress overnight. It was being celebrated from February 1st when the sun was going down to February 2nd, so it was all night until the sun rise again.
Oh, so it's a birth of the fire.
Yeah, it's a birth of the new fire because we're in the between halfway of winter and spring. And so people usually use a lot of the element of fire. If you have a fireplace, that's great. If you don't, a candle. Like usually people
Mhm.
have a lot of candle. I remember doing one where Casey was doing one in an old beautiful place called Sage, which we were doing a little ceremony for Bridget and for the Imbolc. And it was great. There was
Mhm.
so many people. It was amazing. And she did a great meditation around fire, and we definitely built an altar for the inbox. So building an altar for inbox and trying to see from February 1st where you imagine, like using that energy of where your imagination goes wild to create that altar that might be like give you give you some sign of where you want to go. That can be like a basil leaf that maybe represent abundance, money abundance. That can be a rosette that represent love. Like a little altar. You don't need to do a big one, but I remember like doing an altar for invoke was one of my what I love to do. I stopped it
Mhm.
2 years ago, but invoke was a really important one for me. Because it was giving so much, it felt like your energy was back in your body with new hope and desire. So doing a
Mhm.
little altar for that, I think it's a great way to do it. Or just like let you, like I said, do a couple of days. Like I said, invoke was being celebrated the all night long. So,
Mhm.
and with that type of energy, you can definitely start on January 29 when the new moon happened and let your mind goes wild, into what you can
Mhm.
create, what is dream and hope. It's definitely kind of a reset, I feel, of like, if you have been feeling down, if you have been like
Mhm.
not seeing, like not knowing what your compass go, when knowing where your arrows go, it this time is not to know, it's to float between the ideas,
Mhm.
and definitely the February 1st, February 2nd, there's a big aha moment into the birth again.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Thank
But
you.
not being scared of navigating through the unknown for
The
some days.
dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. The darkness into light.
Hmm.
Well, little ritual. Here we
Woohoo.
come. All
I
right.
used to like celebrate in bulk all the time. I just
Yeah.
loved. I definitely felt, and then that some people is, Samhain, some people is winter. So everybody has his own, relationship with the
Mhm.
different holidays, but it's
It was
definitely,
celebrated all over the world. It's celebrated in every culture. I'm like
yeah,
thinking about like I know in Russia it's celebrated.
yeah. It just carry different names or
Yeah,
different
it's
colors.
different names in different
Yeah.
countries. Yeah, because those dates and those moments of transition, they mean a lot to the
Hmm.
whole world. It's not a matter of, spirituality. It's a matter of natural cycles.
Yeah.
All it
Yeah.
is, it's a matter of natural cycles. You can't go against them. You can be with them or not be with them. So
Mhm.
yeah. Well, I think we are done with the first part
Part
of our
one.
Aquarius season. Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like a rebirth time, so I'm
Yeah, the
looking
part
forward
one
to
I
it.
really do enjoy. It just like from January 19th to February 1st. We'll talk about part two in the next episode from February 3rd to when February
Hmm.
18th when the sun enters Pisces. But for the first part, I just feel things are moving. Like what we said at the beginning of the podcast when you were saying
Hmm.
congestion and like kind of like stuck, and
Hmm.
then it feels like it's like just things are moving.
Yeah.
Things that happened definitely like 2 or 3 months ago are having the, I feel now it's like time to deal with it or time to
Deal
do.
with it. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Definitely.
definitely. Thank you guys. Thank you
But
for
thank you
listening.
so much. Yeah,
Thank
thank
you,
you for
Karima.
listening. Thank you, Mariana, as always. As
Yeah,
always.
as
And we
always.
wish you a happy part one Aquarius season. Uh,
Yeah,
don't forget to leave us a comment or your question. We're
yeah,
always happy to help you also individually to navigate those
hmm,
transits. We have our information. All our information,
yeah,
how to reach out to us is on the info section. So yeah, don't hesitate. We're happy to help.
yeah. We're here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys. Good luck with everything.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Modern Witches podcast. We hope you've been inspired to cultivate your own magic and to craft your own spiritual practices. Let us know what sparked your curiosity by leaving us a comment on this episode or leave us a review. And don't forget to subscribe to the show so that you never miss an episode. Your feedback and engagement truly fills our cups. If you're looking for more ways to gather with your fellow witches, please support our work on Patreon. Learn more at modernwitches.org. Blessed be.